Well, I mean, you see a bunch of the pieces already there. So you have stable diffusion. You have the ability to type in the image that you want, and it spits out, a version of it or 10 different versions of it, and you can pick which one you want to go with. You have the ability to create characters. You have the ability to create voices. You have the ability to replicate a celebrity voice. The only thing that's not there yet, as far as I know, is the ability to take static images and string them together into a motion picture. But that seems like it's coming really soon. So yeah, in theory, you should be able to train the model where you just give it a screenplay and it outputs essentially an animated movie. And then you should be able to fine tune it by choosing the voices that you want and the characters that you want and, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think we're close to it. Now, I think that the question, though, is, every 9, let's call it, of reliability is a big advancement. So, yeah, it might be easy to get to 90% within 2 years, but it might take another 2 years to go from 90 to 99%. And then it might take another 2 years to get to 99.9 and so on. And so to actually get to the point where you're at this stage where you can release a theatrical quality movie, I'm sure it will take a lot longer than 2 years.
Yeah, please.
This is a startup that's using this type of technology. And the way it works is you film a live action scene with a regular actor, but then you can just drag and drop an animated character onto it. Mm-hmm. And it then converts that scene into a movie with that character.
Like Planet of the Apes or Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah,
Andy
exactly.
Serkis, was he the person who kept winning all the Oscars?
So there it goes after the robot has replaced the human.
Wow.
You can imagine like every piece of this just eventually gets swapped out with AI, right? Like you should be able to tell the AI, give me a picture of a human leaving a building, like a Victorian era building in New York. And certainly it can give you a static image of that. So it's not that far to then give you a video of that, right? And so, yeah, I think we're pretty close for, let's call it hobbyists or amateurs to be able to create pretty nice looking movies using these types of tools. But again, I think there's a jump to get to the point where you're just altogether replacing.
One of the things I'll say on this is we still keep trying to relate it back to the way media narrative has been explored and written by humans in the past. Very kind of linear storytelling. It's a 2-hour movie, 30-minute TV segment, 8-minute YouTube clip, 30-second Instagram clip, whatever. But one of the enabling capabilities with this set of tools is that these stories, the way that they're rendered and the way that they're explored by individuals can be fairly dynamic. You could watch a movie with the same story. All 4 of us could watch a movie with the same story, but from totally different vantage points. And some of us could watch it in an 18-minute version or a 2-hour version or a 3-season episodic version, where the way that this opens up the potential for creators. And so now I'm kind of saying, before I was saying, hey, individuals can make their own movies and videos. That's going to be incredible. There's a separate, I think, creative output here, which is the leveling up that happens with creators that maybe wasn't possible to them before. So perhaps a creator writes a short book, a short story, and then that short story gets rendered into a system that can allow each one of us to explore it and enjoy it in different ways. And I, as the creator, can define those different vantage points. I, as the creator, can say, here's a little bit of this personality, this character trait. And so what I can now do as a creator is stuff that I never imagined I could do before. Think about old school photographers doing black and white photography with pinhole cameras, and then they come across Adobe Photoshop. What they can do with Adobe Photoshop was stuff that they could never conceptualize of in those old days. I think what's going to happen for creators going forward, and this is going back to that point that we had last week or 2 weeks ago about the guy that was like, hey, I'm out of a job. I actually think that the opportunity for creating new stuff in new ways is so profoundly expanding that individuals can now write entire universes that can then be enjoyed by millions of people from completely different lengths and viewpoints and models. They can be interactive, they can be static, they can be dynamic. And that the tooling that you personalized, but the tooling that you as a creator now have, you could choose which characters you want to define, you could choose which content you want to write, you could choose which content you want the AI to fill in for you and say, hey, create 50 other characters in the village. And then when the viewer reads the book or watches the movie, let them explore or have a different interaction with a set of those villagers in that village. Or you could say, hey, here's the one character everyone has to meet. Here's what I want them to say. And you can define the dialogue. And so the way that creators can start to kind of harness their creative chops and create new kinds of modalities for content and for exploration, I think is going to be so beautiful and incredible.
I mean, Freeberg.
Yeah, you can choose the limits of how much you want the individual to enjoy from your content versus how narrowly you want to define it. And my guess is that the creators that are going to win are going to be the ones that are going to create more dynamic range in the creative output. And then individuals are going to kind of be stuck. They're going to be more into that than they will with the static. Everyone watches the same thing over and over. So there will be a whole new world of creators that, maybe have a different set of tools than
just think,
realized in the last generation.
To build on what you're saying, Freeberg, which I think is incredibly insightful, just think about the controversy around two aspects of a franchise like James Bond. Number one, who's your favorite Bond? We grew up with Roger Moore. We lean towards that. Then we discover Sean Connery. And then all of a sudden you see, the latest one. He's just extraordinary. And Daniel Craig, you're like, you know what? That's the one that I love most. Well, what if you could take any of the films? You could say, let me give me The Spy Who Loved Me, but put Daniel Craig in it, etc. And that would be available to you. And then think about the next controversy, which is, oh my God, does James Bond need to be a white guy from the UK? Yeah, of course not. You can release it around the world, and each region could get their own celebrity, their number one celebrity, to play the lead, and controversy over.
You know the old story, the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? So that story was retold in dozens of different languages, and it was told through the oral tradition. It was spoken by bards around a fire pit and whatnot. And all of those stories were told with different characters and different names and different experiences. Some of them were 10 minutes long. Some of them were multi-hour sagas explained through the story. But ultimately, the morality of the story, the storyline, the intentionality of the original creator of that story came through. The Bible is another good example of this, where much of the underlying morality and ethics in the Bible comes through in different stories read by different people in different languages. And I think that may be where we go. My kids want to have a 10-minute bedtime story. Well, let me give them Peter Pan in 10 minutes. I want to do, a chapter a night for my older daughter for a week long of Peter Pan. Now I can do that. And so the way that I can kind of consume content becomes different. So I guess what I'm saying is there's two aspects to the way that I think the entire content, the realm of content can be rewritten through AI. The first is individual personalized creation of content, where I as a user can render content that is of my liking and my interest. The second is that I can engage with content that is being created that is so much more multidimensional than anything we conceive of today, where current centralized content creators now have a whole set of tools. Now, from a business model perspective, I don't think that publishers are really the play anymore, but I do think that platforms are going to be the play. And the platform tooling that enables the individuals to do this stuff and the platform tooling that enables the content creators to do this stuff are definitely entirely new industries and models that can create multi-$100 billion outcomes.
Let me hand this off to Sachs, because there has been the dream for everybody, especially in the Bay Area, of a hero coming and saving Gotham City. And this has finally been realized. David Sachs, I did my own little Twitter AI hashtag, and I said to Twitter AI, if only, please generate a picture of David Sachs's Batman crouched down on the peak of the Golden Gate Bridge. The amount of creativity, Sachs, that came from this, and this is something that, if we were talking about just 5 years ago, this would be like a $10,000 image you could create as a birthday present.
These were not professional quote unquote artists. These
were
individuals that were able to harness a set of platform tools to generate this incredible new content. And I think it speaks to the opportunity ahead. And by the way, we're in inning one, right? So,
Sachs, when you see yourself as Batman, do you ever think you should take your enormous wealth and resources and put it towards building a cave under your mansion that lets you out underneath the Golden Gate Bridge and you could go fight crime?
So good.
Sachs, do you want to go fight this crime in Gotham?
I think San Francisco has a lot of Gotham-like qualities. I think the villains are more real than the heroes. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of heroes, but
yeah, we got a lot of jokers.
we got a lot of jokers. Yeah. That's a whole separate topic, I'm sure we'll get to. Whole separate
topic we'll get to at some point today.
You guys are talking about all this stupid bullshit. There are trillions of dollars of software companies that could get disrupted, and you're talking about making fucking children's books and fat pictures of Sachs. It's so dumb.
No, Sachs
conversation is idiotic.
The entertainment Jason, industry is one of the great
job. No, nobody cares about entertainment anymore because it's totally diffuse. Okay, so why don't you talk about
biggest industries that
where the money is? Why don't you teach people where there's going to be actual economic destruction